Hello, it's me, and just in time for Halloween, I thought I'd pull out a puzzle that I unboxed fairly recently from 3D Modeled Puzzles. That's the name of his channel, and he designed this Ghost 3x4x5. So the 3x4x5 itself is kind of a special place in my heart because it was one of the very first, if not the first, 3D design puzzles that I ever bought from Tom Z, and that was this guy over here. Now what's interesting, I've got other ghost cubes, ghost cuboids, but what's interesting is this doesn't look like a cuboid, it looks like a cube. Just for comparison, here's a ghost 5x5, so good puzzle, nice puzzle. It looks like a cube, and so does this. And although it's 5 layers, you can tell it doesn't quite exactly fit, but it does not look like a brick cuboid, it looks just like a cube. So more on that in a little bit, but I do have other cuboids in my collection, so in ghosted cuboids. So this guy over here, this is a very simple version. This is actually a 1x2x3. So this is one of the puzzles within this succession, a 1x2x3. So this is kind of a brick, but you can see it looks like a brick. It doesn't really look like a cube. Here's another kind of a version of that, of a 1x2x3, but not exactly. I'll just put that away for later. So anyway, there's this. I've got some others. So this is in the classification of brick cuboid. We've got this guy over here, and you can tell this doesn't look exactly like a cube. It's kind of squashed, and this is a form of a shapeshifter, not an ultimate shapeshifter, but a shapeshifter, and this is a 2x4x4. So being a shapeshifter, I can make 90-degree turns. I can come here and complete the turn. So had this puzzle for a little while. I think I have tutorials on all of these, but you can tell it looks like a cuboid. It actually looks like something that isn't exactly like a cube. But this is something that does shapeshift. The characteristics of a brick is, well, this one does shapeshift, and so do bricks, but there's a certain degree of non-scrambling between different layers. So here is an ultimate shapeshifter. This is a 3x4x5. This is ghosted just very subtly, so there's not a huge amount of ghosting. So I have to just move it just right. And it's got just enough challenge to make an already challenging puzzle even more challenging. One of the issues with this puzzle is it tended to stick. So right now I've got some sticky points here. And even if I separate it, it starts to stick again. So I think this is very sticky. But anyway, so this is a 3x4x5. I do have a tutorial on this. This beast took me a lot to solve, but you can tell it looks like a cuboid and not like a cube. So that's an ultimate shapeshifter. I've got some other odds and ends. Another interesting one is this guy here. Now this also looks like a cube. It does not look like a cuboid, but it is. And what this is, if we set it up here, we have a two layers over here, 1, 2, right over here. And then we have 1, 2, 3 down here, and we have 1, 2, 3 over here. So this is a 2x2x3. So a 2x2x3 is a domino type of a cuboid. So this is a shapeshifter, a 4x4x3. This is a 3x3x2. So what happens with this is that at 90-degree turns, it can't be scrambled, which means this layer only scrambles with this layer, but this layer only scrambles with itself, really. Now what's interesting about this is it has a cube look to it. It does not look like a cuboid. It does not look like a standard 3x3x2. And in many ways it kind of enhances the challenge because it's harder to get a perspective with where those are. So this is a domino. These are bricks, and this is an ultimate shapeshifter, and this is a shapeshifter. So now I'm going to roll out a couple others, and this is from Crazy Bad Cuber, Dan Fast and Ben. And this is the Heavens Cuboid and the Hell's Cuboid. This is the natural succession potentially of this, and I bring this out because it kind of proves a point. So this is a 3 layers over here, 3 by 3, so we're 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, no, actually, so this is 4 layers, so we have 4 here. You can see that we have 3 layers deep over here, 3, and we have 3 layers over here. So this is a 3x3x4. A 3x3x4 is also a domino, much like this guy. So this is a 3x3x2, and this is a 3 by 3 by 4. So as the 3 by 3 by 4, these layers, these two layers scramble with each other, and these two layers scramble with each other. So it's like we have two dominoes in one, and this scrambles where you have your normal shape over here, so you can see the layers pretty well. Now what's interesting is you can actually ghost a brick and also a domino in two different ways. So this is ghosted with each of these layers. You solve it with each layer that you can more clearly see, and then you turn it into position. This is also a 3 by 3 by 4, but the ghosting is not along the top layers, it's along the side layers. So the ghosting here is a little bit different. I can see 3 layers here. This ghosting, I was able to more easily move it across the 4 layers. So 4 layers here, but I'm now ghosting it from this perspective. This perspective is we have 3 layers across here, and that's where I'm ghosting this across 3 layers here. So in order to get the proper movement, see if I can find my way here. It is a perspective bender. Here, no, here, no, here, yes, okay. Okay, so here's where I can move it. Now, what's interesting about this is I can show you the structure here. This is the 4 layer down here, just like this is 4 layers. This is the 3 layer, just like this is the 3 layer. So although they both look like bricks, they're bricked from different angles. So in this case, the top portion would actually be here. So if we're going to say that this is the top of a 3 by 3 by 4, this is the top of the 3 by 3 by 4. So if I were to do it layer by layer, this layer scrambles with this layer, and these 2 layers scramble with each other. But how do I get perspective when, to put this layer in, the layer is actually ghosted? So this is much more difficult than this version, because here at least I can visualize the layers pretty well. This layer is ghosted. So I have to literally slice in between and get continuity within this layer over here. So that's the Hell's cuboid. Now, I mention this for a particular reason. I mention this because if there's 2 ways of ghosting a brick or a domino, and one way is more like heaven and the other way is more like hell, how then was this ghosted? Well, if I pull this out over here, an easy way to ghost this is the top layer here. I say that because this in many ways is like a 3 by 3 by 4, but if I move this 90 degrees, then it can turn. So this is where I have continuity because I have an even layer, an odd layer rather, turning into another odd layer. When I move odd to odd, I can make a 90-degree turn and still move. But if I move odd to even, then it doesn't turn. That's the aspect of it. What I really like about this puzzle is all the cubes look the same. That's Tom Z's great craftsmanship. So an easy way to ghost this would be just to ghost it like this. You know, I have to solve it in this position, but at least I can get perspective over here. But that's not what he did. He ghosted it in this position. So instead of the layer over here, notice this layer over here, I guess the closest thing to have this structure is the top would be, well, let's put this in ghost form so that I can actually move it. Okay, can I move it from here? And yes, okay. So this would be like the top. This is what this represents. So the sides here, where I have one here, and then I've got an edge here, then 2 centers, edge and 2 centers, and then another edge, surrounded by corners and surrounded by other edges. Whoops! Don't scramble it yet. Don't scramble it yet. So too, if I were to hold it here, so this actually represents this same structure. Turn it 90 degrees, and I can continue to turn. Well, so too, if I turn this 90 degrees, I can continue to turn. So that's what I mean about how this is ghosted. This is ghosted like the Hells, and not like the Heavens cuboid. And that renders much more difficulty because I can't put this center in. It's like putting a bunch of layers in. And if I move this down to here, it doesn't it doesn't turn. So that is the devilishly, fiendishly clever way that he goes to this to maximize the difficulty. So hope that made sense, but that's what makes this more difficult. By the way, just like Dan Fast has a couple of different cuboids, it's the same kind of cuboid but goes to different ways. For 3D Mod Puzzle, my challenge is this: do you have a way of doing it like this? Do you have a way of ghosting it from the top? If you do, let me know, because I will buy it. And the reason is because, well, I like that variation. Now, notably, it probably will be somewhat of an easier solve, but it's still great for a collection. And if you wanted to maybe, say, change the color a little bit to distinguish, then so be it. I believe that there's also an Emerald series with a 2x3x4. And the 2x3x4 is the next step down from this, and since I got the 1x2x3, a 2x3x4 would be great to add with a 3x4x5. Anyway, so that's in terms of perspective, and that's in terms of the difficulty of this puzzle. So when solving a puzzle like this, it might even be useful to do a tandem solve where I scramble the actual 3x4x5 just so that I can get something of perspective. As a matter of fact, maybe I'll do that. But let's just throw caution to the wind and go ahead and do a scramble of this puzzle. So if I were to scramble a puzzle like a 3x4x5, the first thing I would do is I'm going to be doing 180 degree turns. So 180 degree turns will make sure that I have maximized the amount of scramble that I can do. Notice nothing's bandaged, nothing is standing in the way, and I go through a lot of this. Now, there's a kind of a parity that happens with this, a scary parity that I call the brick parity. And that can happen at a variety of different levels. Ultimate shapeshifters can do it, bricks can do it. Actually, let me go like this so I can make this a little bit more. There we go. And what that looks like is it takes these out of line. And it goes something like this: 2F, U, 2R, UI, 2L, U, 2R, UI, 2L. I then do 2F, and then I do a 2R in the middle, then another 2F, and then reverse what I did. 2L, U, 2R, UI, 2L, U, 2R, UI. I do a 2F, and then I move this again. Now, believe it or not, I just created a parity, the likes of which I have to do that scramble again to get it back. It just enhances the challenge with that. That's a brick parity. Okay, so once I do that, keeping my perspective about me, I'm just going to start doing 180 degree turns so that I can maximize the amount of complications with this. All right, I have now gone beyond the level of return. There is no way that I can remember and get myself back. And the more I'm talking, the more I'm distracting myself, the less likely I am to be able to do that. But I bought this puzzle for a reason, and it's not to sit on the shelf. Oh, okay, I think I can do a little bit better. So I'm doing 180 degree turns in order to maximize the solve. And I'm just taking puzzles that have an association with each other away from each other. Now, this is not 3D printed, but you can see just how well this moves. Turn this here. Ghost puzzles are very difficult to solve and cumbersome to solve if I have to struggle with movement. But we're doing quite good here. We're doing really, really good. Now, do I dare do a brick parity scramble if I can remember it? Let's see. I'm going to have this in front of me, and that's going to be something like this. Let's get this out over here just to separate these out. What did I do? I did a 2F, then a U, R, UI, 2L, U, 2R, UI, 2L. Now I should be able to do a 2F, which I can, and then I should be able to do a 2 middle R here. Now, let's get ourselves back with another 2F. Then I'll do 2L U, two R UI, 2L U, 2R UI, and the 2F. So that was the brick parity. And it looks like I did okay because I'm still able to move this around and scramble it just the same. So I'll just kind of keep going with that. Now, people sometimes ask me, if this is a puzzle that most people don't have, why am I doing tutorials on it? Why am I doing demonstrations? And that's a good question. The original intention of these videos as to why I started making them was really just to document on a video my solve strategy. And just in case I don't remember what I did, I don't remember exactly how I did it, it was my way of just sort of characterizing it. The second thing is that not only does it make me remember what I did, but it also allows me to maybe correlate what I'm doing with other puzzles that might have similar structures and similar strategies. Okay, so I think I might have done a shape-shifting solve, but the next thing that I would do is I would start to do shape-shifting solves. This will come here, and I'm doing my 90 degrees as I'm turning even layer into even layer. And this is where the fun begins. So the hope is that I did enough of a 180 degree scramble to where I've separated things out. But understand that I only have this layer scrambling with this layer and these two layers scrambling with each other. So that's all that I'm doing. So my strategy is going to bear that in mind. So it's sort of scrambling like a domino at this point. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same here. So this is 4 layers here. Make sure I've got my perspective here. Good, good. Okay, so I'm going to try to find that, but I've already kind of lost my way here a little bit. Yeah, so this has been compromised here. Okay, let's see if I can get it back. Alright, I might have done the brick parity a little bit off. Maybe that's where, but this is, okay, so, okay. I think maybe, I got it back. Okay, so now I can turn this layer into here. I got to do 2 here, and I'm going to keep doing the scramble like this. I can do 90 degrees here, but I have to do 180 degrees across here. So all of these are going to be 180 degrees. Okay, so move this over to here, and okay, so 90 degrees here, and I keep going with 180 degrees on this side, like so. Move this in like thus. This will be line myself up here. Okay, yeah, I'm still at 1, 2, 3, 4, but this one might have gotten a little skewed. So if I find myself turning at the wrong angle, oh, there we go, okay. Yeah, so this will be here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Okay, as long as I can do that. 1, 2. Just like this. So these can be any amount of 90 degrees, and I know I'm doing it right if I can just turn this 180 degrees. Okay, good. So 90 degrees here, 180 degrees here, 180 degrees here, 90 degrees here. Do a couple 90 degrees here. Okay, so already it doesn't really matter because it's so shape shifted. So even if the scramble could be more, it's about as good as it really needs to be, I think. But let me see. There we go. 180 here. Oh, nope, that lines up with that too much. So let's go here. And I will try it again. 1, 2. Good. That doesn't really line up over there. Okay. So there you have it. This is what I would say the Hell's cuboid version, and this is a scrambled version of that. And that's what this looks like. Even this has a degree of order to it. This is completely offset. And the question is, how do I solve it? Well, I did do a solve of this, and I think it's going to be fairly similar to that. But what direction do we go? Now, to really make it confusing to me, to really kind of offset things, what I can do is I can do a couple moves like this. In other words, do a 90-degree move in this direction here. Now, I'm not going to be able to do anything with that, but at least it'll confuse me and have me decide how to put this in a way that I can do the proper move. So I'm going to do a 90-degree move here. Once I do that, it's all going to be jammed. And now that it's jammed, you can't really tell the difference between here and here. The only difference is from here, I can do this turn. From here, I can't do any turn. So there it is, a completely scrambled Hell's version of the 3x4x5, where the skewing of the perspective is actually maximized. So now the question is, how do I go about the solve?